president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please.
All right, that brings us to the press conference of all press conferences. You know, I don't think Karine Jean-Pierre knew that answering questions was going to be part of the job description here. Don't you get the feeling after yesterday's disaster that she walked back into the office and said, hold on. I actually have to answer questions and follow-up questions? And if they don't believe me, they're going to push me and press me and ask me more questions to prove what I said was right. What the hell is this? What have I gotten myself into? Nobody told me that's what this job was. Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday challenged on a very simple question. John Levine, great reporting from the New York Post, discovered that a neurologist specialist in Parkinson's disease visited the White House 8 times over the course of 8 months. Why? Why was he there? And the simple question that Karine Jean-Pierre, during this entire transaction you're about to witness, the one question was this: can you say yes or no that this neurologist and specialist in Parkinson's, was he or was he not there to deal with the President of the United States, either in consultation or examination or observation or testing? Were his visits related to Joe Biden, yes or no? And she never answered that question. Never. Watch what happened.
Give you that answer, but he did not have a medical exam. He did not have a physical.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Did you know about that verbal check-in, or did we just not ask him that precise question?
So the line of questions that I was getting that day was, in the way that I was hearing the question, was about the medical exam. I answered MJ's question when she asked me medical exam, and I answered and I said no, physical. And then somebody else asked me, was there a check-in? I did not mean to steer anybody wrong. I was still thinking about the medical exam. I was still thinking about the physical. That's how I answered the question. And then when it became, when the president actually spoke to it, I went back, asked the medical doctor, and he said they had a verbal check-in. That's what he said. But in answering the question, I was talking about the medical exam. I was talking about the physical.
And then quick ones. There's a lot of reporting in the last 24 hours about a Parkinson's expert who's come to visit the White House almost a dozen times over the last year or so, including at least one meeting with the president's physician. Could you state, very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive.
Okay, there's no step back needed here, okay? You heard the question. It's Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, and it's going to get heated in a minute because he gets frustrated, as we all are. The question was, were the visits of this neurologist, expert in Parkinson's, related in any way to the President of the United States? That's all. That's all. Well, let me just take a step back. No. Why? Were his visits related to the president? Yes or no? Yes, she doesn't answer that question, yes or no. Wonder why. Well, you'll see why.
Physical examination. The president has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist. And just to give you a quote from that, from the report most recently in February, an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring in that there were no findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorder, such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis, end quote. So that came directly from in February in that comprehensive report that was provided by the president's doctor to me, that I shared with all of you. So anyone who is watching can certainly go to our website.
Question, which was this expert's visits, was multiple visits to the White House pertaining at all to the president's care?
Here's the thing. I've said he has had three. He has had three physicals. In those three physicals, that's when he has seen a specialist, a neurological specialist. I have to be super mindful here, and this is why, and I'll explain this to you in a second. There are thousands of military personnel who come onto this White House. Many of them get the care from the White House medical unit, and so need to be super careful. There are, the medical unit hosts a wide range of specialists, from dermatologists to neurologists. And so I cannot speak to every person because there's actually a security reasons to protect their privacy. We respect and protecting people's privacy. So do not want to share. I'm not going to share people's names from here. But the president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
All right, let me, there's more to this and we're going to watch it, but I need to break down some of the lies that you just saw. And they're the worst kind of lies because they're distraction lies, they're pivot lies, they're I'm going to behave like I'm telling you facts, truth, and information when I'm actually deflecting from the topic at hand. And again, I want to go back. The question is the visits from this neurologist, a specialist in Parkinson's, to the White House. Was it or was it not related to President Biden? She still hasn't answered that question. Now, what she has said is that as part of his annual exam, of which he has had 3 now, he has a neurological test. And so he sees a neurological specialist. But I don't know if you heard it in there. Ed O'Keefe asked, at the White House or at Walter Reed? Now, that refers to Walter Reed Medical Facility in Bethesda, Maryland. That is where the president goes for his physical examination. And by the way, that is where Dr. Oh gosh, what's the doctor's name? It's so funny because it's an ironic name. The neurologist that we're talking about, not Dr. O'Connor. This is where the doctor that is in question here is actually a resident. He works at Walter Reed. So if President Biden is going to Walter Reed to get his physical, and that's where the neurologist is, you'd think that he would be examined by the neurologist there. So why 8 times did this neurologist leave Walter Reed in Bethesda, Maryland, and go down to the White House in D.C.? So she's telling you he gets examined, neurological exam every time he does a physical exam. Okay, well, that's 3 times, not 8 times. And that would be at Walter Reed, not at the White House. So it doesn't answer the question at all. Kennard, thank you, El Captain Beefheart, in the chat room there at Kennard. It's just funny that it's Kennard because it's like, it's a Kennard. This whole doctor is a Kennard. It's hilarious. Thank you, El Capitan. It doesn't answer the question. It is a deflection. Were the visits by the neurologist, Dr. Kennard, 8 times at the White House related to President Biden? Well, I can tell you that he sees a neurologist every year when he does his physical exam. Okay, well, that's not at the White House. That's at Walter Reed. So can we get back to the question of the 8 visits to the White House? Then she goes on to say, well, there are other personnel that the doctor sees here in the administration, the White House, the old executive office building, but we can't release any more information about that out of security purposes. Now, she could have easily said it wasn't President Biden, it was someone else. No one's asking for names. We're asking a yes or no question on whether it's Joe Biden. So now she's like throwing up all these distractions. Well, there are thousands of people here. And he could have been here to examine other people as well. We can't release any names because of security and privacy purposes. By the way, side note, this administration wanted to keep you from having a job unless you released personal health information about whether you got a vaccine or not. This administration wanted to keep you from being able to travel on planes or out of the country. This administration wanted to issue vaccine passports so you couldn't even go into a restaurant. In fact, I was asked in Los Angeles because this president's party's governor, Gavin Newsom, and their mayor, Eric Garcetti, who's now Joe Biden's ambassador to India, they instituted the totalitarian vaccine passport. So you had to show your proof of getting the jab before you went into a restaurant. And so it's pretty rich for her to stand up there and wrap herself in the blanket of private health information and personal health data that should be protected and kept secret. Because during the pandemic, these guys didn't want you to have any secrets. People got fired and lost their jobs. They booted people out of the military if they didn't get the shot. And now, oh, well, for privacy purposes, we can't reveal who the doctor saw. Oh, give me a break. All right. We'll let her continue.
Can I ask you a very basic, direct question?
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
Eight times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year.
Sorry, I got to jump in here. It was at this moment when Sean Spicer and Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Kayleigh McEnany all burst out laughing while watching this press conference, and maybe even threw a brick at their television. Hey, a little respect here. Oh, honey. Oh, Raggedy Ann, you have no idea what disrespect at a White House press briefing looks like. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Oh, that's just precious. Okay, I'm sorry.
Around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're asking me.
Kennard, come to the White House.
But I also said to you.
Yeah, I just want to point out as this fight continues that she just said that answers your question. No, the question is the 8 times this man visited the White House, was it related to Joe Biden? Now, she answered a question, but it's not that question. She answered the question, has the president ever been examined by a neurologist? Her answer was, every year at his physical examination, he is examined by a neurologist. That's great. But that's not the question. You see what she's doing. And Ed O'Keefe, God bless him, CBS News. I love everybody starting to find Jesus here. He recognizes that it's all complete and total and that she is him. And Ed O'Keefe finally has grown a pair.
To you, Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names. We have to.
Others he would have met with.
We cannot,
you can share names in regards to if someone came here.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to protect. I understand that. I hear you.
Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them. We have to keep their privacy.
It is public.
I hear you. Guys, hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this aggressive way.
Missed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What do you missed about? What do you miss about?
Everything he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam. And I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the president still stands by that. He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the president has a couple times a week.
Now in regards to Dr. Kevin Kennard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not confirming names from here. It is the security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the president has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. 3 times. And it is in the reporting. that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to devolve somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as is privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to do that. It is inappropriate. It is not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it.
Not about the name.
Go ahead.
You cannot confirm the name.
You know, it's not just the lies. It's the condescending arrogance along with the lies. The attitude that there's something wrong with you for not taking the that we're feeding you. That you've got the problem for daring to smell the ripe pile of that is sitting right in front of you and then pointing out, hey, this sure smells like something. And then her condescending, patronizing, faux anger. It may be real anger because she's actually being challenged at her job. But the lie after lie after lie. I'm not going to confirm a name out of privacy. The name is public. It's on the White House log, the visitor log. Now, let me add a little bit more context for you because I work in Washington, D.C. As you know, I do a morning radio show in Washington on WMAL. This morning, I had Congressman Ronnie Jackson of Texas on my show. You may recognize that name. Not only is he a member of Congress, but he was the White House physician for 3 presidents, for George W. Bush, for Barack Obama, and for Donald Trump. So he knows Dr. Kennard, the doctor in question here, who is a neurologist and a Parkinson's expert. So I asked him about this. Now, we're talking about the White House visitors log, right? And I can confirm this. I have visited the White House for my professional duties. I've also visited the building right across from the White House. It's not across the street. It's adjacent to it. There's an alley there. It's called the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, or it's called the Old Executive Office Building because they've outgrown it now because the administrative state has grown so big that there's a second, newer executive office building. But if you work for the White House, if you're really special, you work in the West Wing and also downstairs in the White House. If you're the next level of special, you work in the old executive office building. And if you're the lower tier of special, you work in the other executive office building. All right. So I have been there for my job and my duties. I've been to the White House. And when you check in, you go through the security gate at the White House. It's right in front of the West Wing where this press briefing is taking place right now. Or sometimes you have to go to a meeting at the old executive office building. That's a different gate. It's a different entrance. It's a different log. That's not considered the White House log, okay? That's 2 things, first of all. But secondly, more important, if you're on the White House log and you're going to do work with the White House physician or the president's physician, there is a different examination room right below the residence. All right. This is not the medical facility that is there for all of the people who work there and military personnel and the Marine Corps guards and everything. This is, and again, I got this from Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who was the White House physician, who was the president's doctor. He is a retired officer in the Navy and now a member of Congress. He says there's a different examination room below the president's residence that is reserved, and it's just for the president and his family and close confidants or advisors and such. That's where Kennard was going. So when she talks about the thousands of people that could have been there, she's lying. I mean, she's telling the truth. There are thousands of people who work there. She's telling the truth that it could have been those other people. And, out of privacy and security purposes, I'm not going to reveal any names. So she can be truthful without actually answering the questions. And therefore, she's telling a truth to be deceitful. Does that make sense? And again, the question was this doctor there as it relates to Joe Biden? Was he there to visit Joe Biden, either to examine him, to test him, to follow up with him, to prescribe medication to him? Were those visits related to Joe Biden? And she answers with facts that are completely unrelated to that question. So those facts that she provided were meant to deceive. And that's what and she is angry and frustrated and near tears because the reporters aren't swallowing it like they always have. And so a little later in the press briefing, she came back to it. That's just how arrogant she is.
I just want to take a step back for a second, because I do take offense to what Ed alluded to. You know, come out here every day, there's a press briefing, and we do our best to give you the information that we have at the time. That's what we do. And we understand that freedom of the press, we respect the freedom of the press. You heard me talk about this last week. I appreciate the back and forth that we all have. I try to respect you, and I hope you try to respect me. And we literally do everything that we can. My team does everything that we can to make sure we get the answers to you. That's what we do. And sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we are not in agreement. But you know what? That's democracy. That is what is important, to have that healthy back and forth. And so to say that I'm holding information or allude to anything else is not unfair. It's really, really unfair. I think people who are watching and have been watching this briefing for this past week could say that we are doing our best in this briefing to provide the information that we have. And I will admit, I will be the first one to admit, sometimes I get it wrong. At least I admit that. At least I admit that. And sometimes I don't have the information. And I will always, always admit that. But I do take offense to what was just happening at the beginning of this briefing. It's not okay.
What you just saw was quintessential millennial/Gen Z DEI histrionics. You know, for the first time in her entire career, this pliant lapdog White House reporter pool dares to push back and dares to challenge her. This comes after days and days and days of her obfuscating and saying, no, the president, you know, the precursor to all of this was she claimed that the president had not been examined after the debate. And then the president in an interview said, yeah, he saw a doctor after the debate. And then she said, well, it was just a check-in. It wasn't an examination. She's been lying to them. She got caught in the lies. She's asked a basic question. Were these visits from the neurologist for Joe Biden? And she still refuses to answer it. So Ed O'Keefe says, why won't you answer the question? You're hiding something from us. And what does she get? What does she get? You know, the slightest pushback. And suddenly, I take offense. I take offense. You have personally offended me. This is not okay. I need my quiet room. I need a safe space on campus to be able to absorb all of this and deal with it. I take offense as the last refuge of any scoundrel who has been caught in a lie. When you point it out and you challenge them, and again, this is all a distraction. It's all a deflection. You point out the fact that we've caught you in your lie. We can see what you're doing. And the only response is, I take great offense to that. I come out here every day and I work and I work and I try and I try. And sure, sometimes I get it wrong, but at least I'll admit that I get it wrong. But to even dare to suggest that I am not, I take great offense to that. But I am not going to forget it. Break. It's an embarrassment. And you know what's even worse? When this is all over, this woman is going to be rewarded with some job for some Fortune 100 company. She'll end up working for Facebook or Google, and she's going to rake it in. And she's an abject failure. She's a laughing stock. She's a joke. But I'll tell you, you know, Zuckerberg's looking at this over at Meta. He's like, dude, I need someone who will lie for me like that. I need someone who can stare at the world with a straight face and not only lie for my company, for Facebook, for Instagram, but also make you feel like there's something wrong with you for even asking the question in the first place. You bet she'll get hired. Of course she will. One other thing at the press briefing yesterday, the further infantilization and emasculation of the President of the United States, as both John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre pointed out that this Thursday, Joe Biden, the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief of our United States military and armed forces, and the head of the executive branch of the United States federal government, will be holding what they like to call a big boy press conference. A big boy press conference.
After that, the president will hold a press conference. I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it, and take some questions from y'all.
This week, President Biden will speak to national labor leaders of AFL-CIO, host the NATO summit to show the unprecedented strength of our alliance, hold a press conference, a big boy press conference, according to Justin Singh from Bloomberg.
A big boy press conference. By the way, in case you're wondering what a big boy press conference is, it's a press conference where the President of the United States takes more than 2 questions from the press, 2 questions that have not already been pre-approved and in some cases scripted out for him. That's what big boys do. I still, by the way, doubt that it will be a big boy press conference. We'll cover it for you here, of course, on this program. But it will only be a big boy press conference if, in fact, he has no teleprompter, no note cards, and no earpiece. And I doubt they can carry that off. But the way they talk to this man, this is the President of the United States, and they're given it the big boy press conference. He's such a big boy. Look at you. Look what you did. You got your pull-ups on and everything. Yeah, you're a big boy. You did not pee your pants. Not this time you didn't. Good for you. It reminds you of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as embarrassing as the debate was for the president, this may have been the most mortifying moment.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Look at him. Look at him. You did such a good job. You answered all the questions. You knew all the right answers. You're a big boy now. Next week, we'll let you do a press conference, a big boy press conference. That don't go sit down now. Go have a snack. We got some goldfish for you and your big boy. That man is toast. As you've seen, it's just a matter of time. But it's over. It's done. It's finished. Kaput. El finito. Bye-bye, Joe. The only question is, who are they going to prop up next?